Hello and welcome to my presentation of my project charter for the virtual house tour of the Tapping Reeve House. Uh, the Tapping Reeve House is part of the Litchfield Historical Society, which is a local historical organization located in Litchfield, Connecticut, and they're working on a project to create a virtual online tour of one of their more popular homes, the Tapping Reeve House. We've been awarded a $4,050 grant, which should hopefully cover the costs of hiring a company to create this 3D virtual tour. And the goal of this tour is to try to increase online accessibility at the Litchfield Historical Society due to growing online usage and the COVID-19 pandemic. Once again, this project is to create a virtual house tour of the Litchfield Historical Society's Tapping Reeve House. It's one of the first law schools in America, and the mission of the Litchfield Historical Society is to illuminate and promote its locally significant history. And with this house tour, this should dramatically promote this significant history of the Litchfield Historical Society. This project is also should hopefully promote accessibility and visitation to the Litchfield Historical Society due to COVID-19 and people being unable to visit the Litchfield Historical Society, its various institutions, as well as just growing technological usage and online resources. It's vital for the Litchfield Historical Society to create a significant online resource for people to utilize and visit in order to keep the Litchfield Historical Society relevant during these difficult times. And the Litchfield Historical Society, once again, has received the $4,050 grant from the Connecticut Humanities Society in order to complete the project, and it should cover all costs of this project. The objectives of this project are to create and complete a virtual house tour of the Tapping Reeve Historic House, increase the online visitation of the Litchfield Historical Society, and increase the general visitation of all aspects of the Litchfield Historical Society. The scope of this project, what's in scope, is increasing the usage and volume of visitors on the Litchfield Historical Society website, targeting the general public and local Litchfield community, as well as partnering with Capture LLC and Litchfield community organizations. Another aspect that is in scope is increasing the visitation of Litchfield Historical Society institutions, the general public and local Litchfield communities, the audience once again, and the local Litchfield organizations and local historical organizations should be the partner on that one. Out of scope for this project is creating another virtual tour for the Litchfield History Museum that would target the Litchfield community and general public, and possibly involve Capture LLC again in order to create the tour. However, this would be far too much to work on and would most likely derail the Tapping Reeve House project. The deliverables we hope to produce during this project will be a 20% increase in the visitation of the Litchfield Historical Society website, a 50% increase in visitation of the Tapping Reeve House online, a 20% increase in person visitation of the Tapping Reeve House, an increase in connection with local organizations and technological organizations. The goal is by helping and using Capture LLC, we could hopefully communicate and talk to other technological organizations to make more interesting projects related with technology in the future, as well as a 5% increase in membership to Litchfield Historical Society. The goal is we hope that people would be inclined to help support us through membership by utilizing the house tour. The project team members for this project will be Catherine Fields as the project sponsor. She'll promote and advocate for the project, ensure that all the project resources and materials are available, both financial and human. Myself, as the project manager, I will report to the project sponsor, manage the project schedule, budget, and resources. Linda Hawking will be the process owner. She's going to manage all the processes of the project and ensure that the processes of creating the virtual house tour are successful. Alexander Dubois, who will be the curator, he's going to monitor and deal with all aspects of designing the exhibit, designing the tour, and the information that'll be put into the tour. And Sean Koenig will be the technology supervisor. He'll assist Capture LLC with the creation of the tour and also just ensure that all of the technology on our end works properly in order to create the tour. The estimated work effort for this project will be for Catherine Fields, she'll be working from November 1st to March 2021, and she'll be about a full-time equivalent for hours. Myself, I will also be working the same time frame, and I will be a full-time equivalent. Linda Hawking will also be working the same time frame. She'll be about 10 hours a week because she just needs to manage the projects. It shouldn't take her a full-time equivalent. Alexander Dubois will be the same time frame, about 20 hours a week instead. It's going to be a little more intensive for him because he'll need to design the tour, so he's going to need a little bit more time per week on the project. And that's the same for Sean Koenig, who's also 20 hours per week, same November 1st to March 2021 time frame. There's going to be a lot of technological aspects with this, and he's going to need a decent amount of time per week in order to get that done. And then Tony Healy is a Capture LLC employee who's going to create and develop the tour. He'll work from November 8th to December 5th. He'll be however much hours he needs to complete the project, so most likely a full-time equivalent. The estimated duration for this project, hopefully by November 1st, the project charter and project plan will be finished and approved. November 1st to November 8th, the initial stages of product selection will occur, most likely selecting Capture LLC in order to complete the project. Procurement will be November 8th to November 22nd. We wanted to dedicate about 2 weeks to gather all the materials. This is a pretty large project, so we want to make sure all the resources are available. From November 22nd to December 5th, the scanning of the actual house will occur. This shouldn't take too long, but I want to dedicate at least a couple weeks to make sure all the time is needed for Capture LLC to come in and then scan the house. From December 5th to December 12th, we'll be creating the implementation plan of how to implement the actual virtual house tour into the LHS website. Then from December 19th to January 20th is the actual implementation of the tour. We just want to make sure, dedicate about a month to this to ensure that all the materials are properly implemented and the tour is working well on the website. And then the final project conclusion is January 20th, to March 1st, which should then hopefully be the final month of the project and work out any possible remaining details. The estimated cost for this project should be covered by the total grant of $4,050 from the Connecticut Humanities Society. Capture LLC for the project should cost about $550. The overall labor costs, not included already in the Litchfield Historical Society budget, should be about $2,400. Social media promotion should cost around $400, and the total cost should be $3,350, which leaves about $700 in wiggle room. The project assumptions will be that the grant will cover the cost of the project, the virtual tour will be completed on time, the virtual tour will be implemented properly on the website, the virtual tour will be designed well and meet the goals of the project team is able to complete the project, and the project will be completed on time. For the risks of this project, we have the Capture LLC is unable to create the scan on time at medium. We want to ensure that the company arrives when scheduled, as well as to create an efficient work environment to make sure Capture LLC is not derailed in any way when they're scanning the house. For a low risk, we have the technology cannot be properly implemented on the website. For this, we just want to make sure that we on our end have the technology to properly implement and put the actual scan into the LHS website. This shouldn't be too much of a risk. We should have the technology for this, but it's still a small risk. Another risk is that Capture LLC's technology does not work properly. This is about a medium risk. We're going to be in constant communication and talks with Capture LLC to make sure that all of their technology works properly. Another risk is a low risk, that the staff is not skilled enough for the project. We're going to make sure that the staff is all trained properly to make sure they're aware of how the technology operates, and as well as their roles in the project, to make sure that there's no confusion and they're able to work properly on this. Another low risk is the costs exceed the budget. We're going to make sure that we at least have the surplus, the $700, and save any extra money in case any random circumstances arises to make sure that we have plenty of money for the project. The work management for this, for the work plan on having a tri-weekly meeting to make sure that there's no complications. Anyone could address any complications with the work plan, as well as the budget will be checked on a monthly basis to make sure we're consistently remaining on budget. And then for any issues that arise, these will also be addressed in a tri-weekly meeting at the section at the end in order to address any specific issues. Also, any project team member can specifically email myself or the project sponsor in order to deal with any issues personally if they're afraid to bring up issues to the project team overall. For scope management, these are also going to be addressed during the meetings. Any requests that were brought up to the project team will be analyzed. However, we're going to stick to a strict and rigid scope, and I'm encouraging project team members to say no to specific requests in order to avoid the dreaded project creep. For communication management, this will be done through email, Zoom, phone calls, face-to-face interaction minimally, and these methods should provide for pretty good communication. Risk management, we're just going to make sure during the meetings we're going to analyze all the risks, attempt to predict any issues, and just stick to the risks we've laid out previously to make sure that we are avoiding them. Document management, everything will be on Google Drive. It'll be accessible to everyone, and it'll be easily used. Quality and metrics, this will also be analyzed during the tri-weekly meetings, ensuring the progress of the deliverables, and then the project sponsor and myself will need approval. We will need to approve these deliverables in order for people to progress to move on to the next ones. For procurement management, we're just going to be in consistent communication with Capture LLC to make sure that they have the proper materials. For the project organization structure, we have Kathleen Fields as project sponsor at the top, myself as project manager second, and then project team members will go the process owner, Linda Hawking, curator Alexander Dubois, and technology supervisor Sean Kunick. And finally, for reflections and lessons learned, it's clear that being a project manager is difficult, and creating a project charter is also very difficult. You have to have a very detailed project charter in order to make sure you avoid any of the risks, issues management, numerous aspects involved with the project charter, especially defining roles for project team members. That's clearly very important to make sure everyone has a well-defined role in order for everyone to fill their purpose in the project properly. But I've also learned you need to be flexible as a project manager. You could make the most amazing project charter possible. However, there's most likely going to be some random difficulties that arise or some problems that arise. Although you could try to have some kind of sixth sense to see these problems, it's difficult to see these problems. So you need to be flexible in order to deal with these random circumstances that arise. And that's why I think I've learned as well that when designing a project charter, it's vital and it's important to just design the charter to the demands and the needs of the specific project. If it needs to be more rigid, then you design the project to be more rigid. If it needs to be more flexible, design it to be flexible. And I think that's the lesson I'm going to take as I move forward and possibly make more project charters and work in project management, is to design these things to the demands and needs of a specific project. There isn't a one project charter speaks all for all projects. Every project is different. Every project has its own various circumstances, and it's important to try to meet those circumstances. And thank you. That's all out of this project. These are my references that I used for this. I appreciate you listening to my presentation on my project charter, and have a good day.